The Purple Heart is a result of sacrifice, for many the ultimate sacrifice. Today, we honor those here today who made that sacrifice and the loved ones of those who never made it home. I'd like to invite Mayor David Glass to the podium to read the city proclamation. And please welcome our three distinguished guests: Charles Earthman, U.S. Army, Petaluma resident; John Logan, U.S. Army; and Larry Williams, U.S. Marine Corps. These three men, Vietnam veterans who were wounded in action, will receive the proclamation on behalf of the Military Order of the Purple Heart.
I want to thank you all for being here today. Also here is Councilmember Mike Harris. I believe Gabe Kearney is here from the Petaluma City Council as well. The Vietnam experience is something that we should never forget, and there's much to be learned about how this country honors its veterans from that experience. And I'm happy to be part of an appropriate honoring here on behalf of the city of Petaluma today. The City of Petaluma, Proclamation, Purple Heart City. Whereas on August 7th, 1782, General George Washington, by general order, established the Badge of Military Merit, an award for exemplary service in the Continental Army during the War of Independence. This was the first military award of the independent colonies and the first award in Western civilization designated specifically for the common soldier. And whereas in 1932, with the assistance of General Douglas MacArthur, the Badge of Military Merit was revived and redesigned as the Purple Heart, a Valor Award for United States Army personnel. And whereas in 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt expanded the awarding of the Purple Heart to members of all branches of the armed forces, retroactive to December 6, 1941, and established a uniform application of standards for the award in the Army and Navy. And whereas in 1952, President Harry Truman retroactively extended to April 5, 1917, Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard eligibility for the Purple Heart to cover World War I. And whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy extended eligibility to any civilian national of the United States who has been wounded while serving under competent authority in any capacity with an armed force. And whereas the Purple Heart has become to stand as a symbol of dedication and sacrifice by all those who selflessly serve our nation. And whereas the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors recognized the service of veterans of Sonoma County on August 7, 2012, by proclaiming Sonoma County a Purple Heart County. Therefore, as mayor of Petaluma, we join in that honor, and it's my pleasure to be a part of the ceremony to present on behalf of the entire City Council the appropriate awards to our distinguished guests here this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Mr. Noriel, City Council, members of the City Council, and citizens of Petaluma and Sonoma County. On behalf of Military Order of the Purple Heart, Chapter 78, I accept this proclamation for all the veterans of this county and especially of Petaluma that were combat wounded, both veteran and active duty, including those 15 that are on the memorial plaque in Walnut Park. And now to say a little more about the Military Order of the Purple Heart and this proclamation is Larry Williams, our Vice Commander, and John Logan, our Adjutant.
Before I make any other comments, I'd like to have you recognize in the front row a gentleman named William Fullwider, World War II Navy pilot, and the awardee recipient of 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, was wounded on combat mission, I believe, over the South China Sea.
Good
Yeah.
enough.
Close enough, right? And still brought his bomber back home with all of his crew members safe. And he has been a long time and still an active member of our chapter at the ripe young age of 92. When the proclamation was read to you, you got most of the history of the Military Order of the Purple Heart. There's only a couple of little things I'd like to add. On August 7th of 1782, when George Washington left Newburgh, his headquarters, and rode down to New Windsor, the encampment of the Revolutionary Army, he awarded 3 of those patches to 3 people who had served in his army during the entire Revolutionary War. If you read the exploits of these 3 people, and you can if you search it out online, you would know that today each of them would have received the Medal of Honor. Outstanding soldiers, they'd all made the rank of sergeant, which wasn't easy in those days, but their exploits were instrumental to the victories of George Washington's army. The only other thing I want to add to that is that we who wear this medal, you know, it's not the medal you go out and join the army and say, I want to get one of those. And we relish every veteran that comes home that never got one. Good for you, right? But at the same time, we are proud of our service, and we are proud of the sacrifice, because we know that without all of those that went before us, and those of us that will still serve in the future, we would not have events like today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Again, my name is Larry Williams, and I am the current Senior Vice Commandant of the Chapter 78 Military Order of Purple Heart. And just as a point of information for you, our area takes in the coastal counties from the Golden Gate Bridge in Marin all the way to the Oregon border. So we are working on trying to get as many of the cities and the various counties, and we've done this in Sonoma and Napa so far. The state of California has been declared a Purple Heart state. In fact, it was the first one in the nation to do so. So this is an ongoing project, but it's also an effort on our part to make people aware that the Purple Heart exists. And there are a lot of benefits that are available to not only the veterans themselves, but members of their family, and oftentimes they simply do not know. So without going into a whole lot of the things that we do, I do want to read something. These are going to be the words of the 58,000 plus names that are on the wall behind me. We're speaking to them, we're honoring them, but they, believe it or not, have something they want to say back to each of you today. And I'm going to read those words for you now. Our days on earth were forfeited so liberty could live. Our fading memory is all that's left. We have no more to give. Though our voices rest in silence, our spirit does not sleep. These many names are guardians of this place where others weep. We thank you for remembering the costliness of wars. Our death past freedom's torch to you, its burden now is yours. Each day your heart connects with ours, our souls feel the gain. Remembrance is our sweet bouquet, we have not died in vain. And to that I would like to add, the estimates that we're seeing are that somewhere between as few as 300 and maybe as many as 800 Vietnam veterans are dying daily in America. So our numbers were not all that great by comparison to begin with when you compare us to the number of people who served in the military in World War II. And many of them, sadly, are dying as a result of exposure to things like Agent Orange and the maladies that are caused by exposure to Agent Orange, pancreatic cancer being the leading cause of death. Those names will never appear on the wall. They, like the names you see behind me, were actually killed in Vietnam. Sadly, they just haven't died yet. So it's a tribute today not only to the names you see on the wall and the recipients of Purple Heart, but the ones who served over there and sadly are passing away, oftentimes not realizing what has caused their demise. That said, I want to thank all of you for honoring those who are on the wall here today and the Purple Heart as a local organization as well as a state and national organization. So if you have any questions at the end of the meeting, we'll be happy to try to answer them. And if there's anything we can do to help you and your families, we'll be more than happy to try to do so. Thank you. Mayor, we have a little token here, Mayor, for you and any of the council members that are here today. This is the Purple Heart Challenge coin. I want to put this in your hand. And I challenge you and the members of the City Council to continue your good work and the efforts on behalf of your veterans here in the city of Petaluma. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of every member of the City Council, I can tell you there are issues that we are divided on. Clearly, our support for veterans has never been and never will be one of those issues. Everybody stands in gratitude for what the veterans have done, and thank you so much for this honor. I appreciate it greatly. On behalf of the City Council, the entire City Council, whether they're here today or elsewhere with their lives, I accept it. Thank you so much.